for today's session, this is the agenda we have. In today's session, we are going to discuss about Fusion Applications Architecture and what is a function setup manager and what does it mean by rapid implementation. Finally, I'll take you through the data conversion of Fusion Applications. Even it is a kind of core, very key concept as a part of our implementation and all. But now I want to just light on that to understand how the Oracle made this as a simple compared to EBS. Okay, these 4 points we are going to talk about in today's session. Okay, the first one is Fusion Applications Architecture. Okay, when I talk about this point, okay, one second. Okay, when I talk about this point here, let me take the same here. So we know in EBS, okay, in EBS, let me just make a note here so we can start discussing Fusion Applications Architecture. In EBS, it's a very simple architecture. Just we'll have an application and database. There will be direct connectivity between the application and the database. What are the activities you do directly, those will get stored in the database. It may be related to the functional applications, payables or receivables, or PO or OM. Even if you do certain activities through system administrators, responsibilities creation, user creation, that related information also directly will get stored in the database. That means the applications got direct relation with the database. So there is no process in between applications and database. Directly those has a connectivity. That's how the process works. But in Fusion Applications, how it works. So when I talk about architecture in the Fusion Applications, and we have like Fusion Applications. Okay, like EBS, we have a database. In between applications and database, we have a concept called as middleware. In Fusion, on top you can see the Fusion Applications. As per architecture, on top you can see Fusion Applications, and we have a database where this data will get stored in the database. In between, okay, between applications and database, we have a concept called as middleware. Okay, this is architecture we can understand. Now let's go one by one point. Then finally we'll understand how this middleware is useful, what we have as a part of middleware, what role the middleware will play in the Fusion Applications. When you talk about, okay, Fusion Applications is all just we say like GL, all Fusion General Ledger, Fusion Accounts Payables, Fusion Account Receivable, Fusion Cash Management, Fusion FA, and Fusion PO. This is all these applications falls into this layer of Fusion Applications. So when I talk about middleware, okay, when I talk about middleware, as a part of middleware, what we have? As a part of middleware, we have IDM, APM, BPM, UCM, and SOA, BPEL, and many, etc. Just many middleware components we have. And when we talk about database, we have Oracle database, and we have Essbase database. Okay, we have Oracle database and Essbase database. So this is how we have. The first point is Fusion Applications. There's no big difference when you compare with EBS. Yes, in EBS we have a application the same way here also we have, but these we are calling as Fusion Applications. Fusion GL, Fusion AP, Fusion ARCM, FAPO. And when you talk about this middleware, let's talk about this middleware components. Those all are different applications, or you can call as few you should call only components, rest you can call as applications or components. Let's talk about these. So here we have in the middleware IDM. With the Fusion applications, what happens, we can have we can do the system configuration, and we can have a transaction part. Then what happens is that information will get stored in the Oracle database. Finally it will get stored in the SBS database. We'll talk on this more detail level. So in Fusion, what happens is when we are dealing with these applications, the application related process, everything, the complete process is managed by middleware with the different tools in terms of security or business process or controls. Everything can be managed by middleware only. How that works, we'll see. We'll try to understand few points, then it will be more clear for us. In the middleware, we have one component called as IDM. IDM stands for Identity Manager. The same IDM you can call as a OIM also. It stands for Oracle Identity Manager. Okay, both are same. You can call as IDM or OIM. With IDM or OIM, what we can do is we can manage the users. Okay, what are the users you require to access these applications? The user management can be done through IDM or say OIM. With IDM or OIM only you can have a access to these applications, as well as you can set a security. Okay, what level of access the user require for respective application. All these security aspects will be using the IDM basically to create the users and to provision the access to the user particular applications. We can use the IDM application. In other words, we can say OIM. And what is the use of APM? So here APM stands for Authorization Policy Manager, or you can call as Access Policy Manager. Authorization Policy Manager or Access Policy Manager. What is the use of APM? Through Authorization Policy Manager, what we can do is, already yesterday we discussed, we'll get certain roles for each and every application. Okay, for each application Oracle is delivering certain roles, especially those you can call as job roles. Along with that you can find the duty role. As we discussed, job roles and duty roles are predefined, seeded. So primarily through APM, what we can do is you can maintain all the job roles with the help of role template. That also we have seen in the last discussion. So we have seen, like for payables, GL and AR, we have a role templates, means they'll group specific application roles into role template. All those role templates can be managed within APM only. Simply we can say roles and role templates are managed in APM. If you want to create custom roles, okay, custom job roles or duty roles or custom data roles, this all can be created through APM only. The simple point, through APM you can manage the roles and job roles, duty roles. That information you can manage through role templates. And finally the data role definition also happens in APM only. It's all about to manage the roles information. The same role, if you want to give the access to so and so user, the provisioning you can do through IDM or OEM. Okay, so this is a point we have to understand. I'll come to the question. Somebody posted some information, I'll come to that. Okay, let me just talk about this. Okay, so this is all about IDM and APM. With the IDM and APM you can create the users and you can give the role provisioning, which user require access to which role. And before that, primarily all the roles are managed within the APM. The role types, like as we discussed, job roles, duty roles and data roles. Custom job roles, duty roles, data roles also can be created within APM only. That's all about this. And other component which we can find in the middleware is BPM. Okay, BPM stands for Business Process Management. Okay, BPM stands for Business Process Management. Through BPM, what we can do is in EBS we know we have a AME, Approval Management Engine, AME application. Through AME, you can just manage the invoice approvals and other approvals also. But in Fusion, the place of AME they given BPM. It's equal to AME. Okay. So through BPM, if you want to set up any business process related controls, say like you when you are doing certain business process activity, that has to be approved by somebody, or else the notification should be routed to someone. Okay. So this kind of business process related controls, if you want to set, for that we can use the BPM. Primarily we can call it as approval management. Okay. Sorry. Through BPM, you can set up the approvals and you can just control the business process, how it should work by following certain rules and conditions. This BPM, Fusion BPM is equal to EBS AME. Okay, I can hear some noise. Somebody's just please. I request everyone to mute. Okay, thank you. Okay, that's all about BPM. And other component is UCM. UCM. UCM stands for Universal Content Management. Okay, UCM stands for Universal Content Management. Through UCM, what you can do? It's very simple. It's kind of repository. It's kind of some data repository. What you can do is when you are using this application for any data uploads, or if you want to load the data, if you want to import the data, or if you want to export the data from the Fusion applications, in that scenarios, you can use the UCM for the imports and exports. But anyway, when you deal with the data conversion concept, when you deal with the data conversion
Hello,
concept.
Lakshman.
Yeah,
Lakshman,
yeah, please.
today are we going to create some implementation project, or you are just providing all the information related to Fusion only on Excel?
See here, I have to talk about this once we discuss. Then, if I'm going to create implementation project, that would be more meaningful. Okay, if I can complete all
Okay.
these within the time, I'll show you how to create first user, after user implementation project. Okay,
Okay.
first I want to take you through this, because without understanding, okay, see when I'm answering, you can mute. Please don't mind. I can hear some noise.
Okay. No issues. No issues.
Okay. So after discussing about this now, just hardly 5 more minutes, we can complete what is a Fusion application architecture. After that, we'll talk about function setup manager. Because to understand how to create implementation project and all, you should understand what is a function setup manager. The reason is through function setup manager only you can create the project. After that, I'll talk about wrapped implementation hardly 2 minutes, and we'll talk about data conversion. Once we're done with that, if still time is left, we'll be running the session till 11 o'clock. Okay, if we can complete all this maybe within half an hour or 1 hour, I'll show you within 10-15 minutes user creation. Then we may just go to the concept called as project creation. Okay, so because it's you have to understand certain things before getting into the actual definition of the project. I want to take you through in that process only, so I don't think we are bit hurry to go and create the implementation project without knowing good information about it. Okay, fine. So that's what. Fine. Now what we'll do is just UCM. We are talking about UCM. UCM stands for Universal Content Management. Basically, this is like it works as a repository. Okay, it works as a repository. When you talk about repository, it's all about data repository. When you are doing the activities called as importing and exporting the data, okay, that kind of imports and exports can be supported by UCM only. So we'll understand what role UCM will be playing in the different aspects when we start working on the applications. Very primarily, the UCM will be using in the process called as what I can say data conversions. Okay, when you are dealing with the data conversions, definitely we should understand the UCM role in the data conversion process. I'll take you through step by step process when we talk about data conversions. There you can understand why UCM is how UCM is useful. Okay, That's all about UCM. And other components we have SOA. SOA stands for Service Oriented Architecture. Service Oriented Architecture. Okay, what is the use of SOA? Through SOA, what we can do is we can do the certain integrations. Okay, the third party integrations with the Fusion applications can be handled by SOA, Service Oriented Architecture. It's a very simple, it's like plug and play environment. Okay, if you want to integrate non-Oracle application with the Fusion applications for data communication, to just pull the data or push the data for any purpose, that can be done by SOA. We should have a SOA service, SOA expert that can be delivered by SOA. But in Fusion, what we are in EBS, what we are doing, if you want to do any kind of third-party application integration with the EBS applications, we'll go with the direct integration, right? If you want to integrate to, say you have an application called as the ABC purchasing application. If the ABC purchasing application, if you want to integrate with accounts payables, directly we'll do the field mapping, and we have an open interface, payables open interface, to connect that application related data flow with that application. Will create one sub interface, and that's how we'll be doing the direct connectivity. When we are doing that kind of connectivity, the lot of control will be lacking. You cannot write many conditions very predefined manner. So for that reason, what Oracle it is, that kind of integrations you can handle through SOA. In SOA, you can write many conditions and very detailed. It's a very flexible and more controlled manner. You can just move the data between the non-Oracle to Oracle applications. For that reason, we have SOA as a part of middleware component. And this is another language. The BPL means, BPL stands for Business Process Execution Language. When we are dealing with SOA and when we are dealing with this approvals related customizations, you can use the BPL, and through BPL only you'll be able to handle all the kind of programming related activities. Still, we have a SQL, PL SQL that remain, but still, when you are dealing with the middleware related components for the programming aspects, will be using the language called as BPL, which is the next generation language. So not only these, we have many other components as a part of middleware, which will manage the application related securities and processes and third party integrations. Okay, it's a more these are more into functional, whatever we discuss. See here up to here, this IDM, APM, BPMs, UCM, these are all more when we are working as a functional consultant. You maybe work as a finance functional or procurement functional or any other functional. Definitely we should aware of these. Okay, we'll be working on these areas. But these SOA, BPL, and we have many other components as a part of middleware, but all comes into technical side. Okay, when you talk about technical, again these doesn't fall into technical consultant. Okay, we know like in EBS, technical consultant means technical consultant is never play the role of just managing the SOA people and all. Technical consultants all about forms, reports, and interfaces and all. But primarily here, these components normally we find the people who are expertised in the relevant areas. These technical are not equal to our apps technical guys. So it's a totally different technical objects. We can see somebody who is expertise in only SOA. You may see somebody who is expert in BPL. And other case, you can see in the market there will be some openings like IDM. They'll be looking for IDM expert. Here, when you are working as a functional consultant, we'll be using this IDM for functional aspects. But here only we can manage the users and user related security and grants and privileges. So some companies will be looking for the people who are expertised on only IDM. That is nothing but it's a purely technical aspect, who can just define the security as per the organization requirement. It's a purely technical job. Okay, okay, even there are many openings in the market for IDM, only for IDM, that is purely technical. Okay, so that's how it works. Okay, that means when we are working on these applications, these are the middleware components which will control and monitor and manage the application related process. This will control the user related, and this will control the approvals. This is a man. It will here we can manage all the roles and template you can manage, and you can generate the data roles. So everything can be done by APM, and through BPM you can manage the approval processes. UCM, data imports and exports you can do. With SOA you can work on the integrations with the people. You can write the business process execution language. Certain you can write the language to do the communication with the respective systems with the Fusion applications. So these all we call as middleware components. Another part is database.
Hi Lakshman.
Yeah.
Just hello.
Yeah, Prashant, give me 1 second. 1 second.
Hello.
Just 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'll be back. 1 second. I'm sorry. There was an urgent call. Fine. I think Prashant was asking some question. Prashant, please.
Yeah, Lakshman. The small thing means like what is the difference between IDM and APM? Means IDM means, as you're saying, is basically for role
Yeah,
creation and management, right?
I'll tell you. See, actually the roles, okay, the roles are owned by APM. What are the roles we have? Whatever we discussed, job roles, duty roles, data roles, abstract roles, all are owned by APM. Those roles are managed through role template. Even if you want to create the custom roles, okay, that also you can do through APM. Those roles you have to assign to the user. The assignment part will takes place through IDM. In IDM you can create the user, but you cannot create the user in APM. And what are the user you create in IDM? To that user, if you want to assign the roles are directly not available in IDM. Those you should access from APM. The roles whatever you have in APM, those roles you will create the user in IDM. The roles whatever you have in APM that can be accessed, the APM roles are accessed by IDM. Those roles you can assign to the user through IDM only. That is the difference. Clear?
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, let me go through these questions which I can see in the chat window. Okay, where is it? It's not to show. The voice is breaking. Now hope everyone can hear me.
It's fine now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Fine. So that is a simple difference to understand. Now let's talk about database. In an EBS, what happens is we have only Oracle database. What are the transactions to record? What are the transactions record within the GL or subledger applications? The data will get stored in the respective base tables. That means in GL, the data will be stored in the form of transaction. That simply you can say Oracle database is basically transactional database where we can store the transaction based information. Each and every transaction you can. If you record the invoice in the payables, yes, invoice information will be recorded as invoice information. Payment record information will be recorded as a payment record. This is how data will be stored in the EBS, which we call as transactional base. That is the reason Oracle database generally we call as transactional database. Okay, I have some question here from someone. We go through it. Can we consider IDM as a user form and APM as a responsibility form in R12? No, not like that. It's not like that. Just you'll understand, Sai. Just you'll understand. I explained that how it works, but I think just once you see in the system, you can understand more clearly. So the question from Sai Komal is: can we consider IDM as user form? It's not like user form. You can create the users and you can assign the users and you can set the passwords and many activities you can do. Even from here, you can create the job roles also, which will be syncing with IDM. And APM is not like as a responsibility form in R12. No, roles whatever you have, those you can assign here in uh, user in through APM on IDM only. So that this statement is not it's that much correct. You will see that once you create the user, once you go to the APM, it will be more clear for you. Okay, but don't understand in that way. Okay, we'll see that. Fine. So generally, Oracle database is transactional database. In Oracle database, what happens is we have it's a relational database, right? So where data will be maintained with the more relational objects. the data, whatever the data you store in the database, that will be stored in the tables, which will be formed with the rows and columns. So on that base, we are saying that is a relational database. The same way, like however we have Oracle database, we have another database called as Essbase database. Essbase database is basically from Hyperion. We know Oracle acquired Hyperion products also. Basically, this Essbase database basically we use for Hyperion related information. Okay, it's like more into flat files. It looks like flat files and all, but it's a database only. So where data can be stored in the Essbase database. When you talk about Oracle database, data will be stored in the tables, right? But in Essbase, you don't find any tables. In Essbase, there won't be any table. It's not at all relational database. In Essbase, where data will be stored means data will be stored in the cubes. Okay, data will be stored in the cubes. In Essbase, we have a multi-dimensional cubes concept where data is get stored in the cubes. What happens is, say for example, I created 10 invoices. The data will go on the store in the Oracle database. I can query, if I want to know that 10 invoices, what is the sum of the 10 invoices, again system should take action of finding one by one invoice, and it has to sum and it has to display. But if you take concept called as Essbase database, in Essbase database basically data will be stored in the summary level. I mean balances will get stored. So in Oracle database, transactional data will get stored, and in Essbase database, with the help of multi-dimensional cubes, the data will get stored balances level. So whenever you have a multiple transactions in Oracle database, it will go and get stored. If you want to generate some report, what happens is system has to fetch that records and it has to start summing, and it has to, if any logic is required, it has to implement it, and finally it has to display. And for that, it's generally time-taking process. But in Essbase database, it's targeted for reporting. Essbase database primarily for reporting. To support the reporting, how the balances need to be stored, in which dimension data has to be stored, accordingly data will be stored. If you look at Oracle database, if you go and query some data, you may not see the total balances for multiple transactions. But in Essbase, primarily data will be stored the balances level only. If you have one account, if you have one period, within that period for that account, okay, within that period for that account, what is the amount, directly that's how the data will get ready in the Essbase database. If you just hit the any report related to that, on the fly system can generate the reports. It won't take any time to gather the information to generate the reports. The balances will be readily available in the Essbase database. This is a separate concept when you deal with the reports. When we deal with the reports, we will discuss about it. There is some terminology which you have to understand before getting into Essbase database and the relevant reporting. We have a financial reporting studio and smart view. Okay, these are the concepts which will work based on this. In EBS, whatever we have, financial statement generator, FSG, financial statement generator, that in that place they given financial reporting studio, FRS. So FRS and all will works based on Hyperion only. The financial reporting studio concept Oracle taken from Hyperion. Okay, in Hyperion we have HCM, right, and HFR, Hyperion Financial Reporting. The HFR, Hyperion Financial Reporting only, they taken into Fusion in the place of FSG. Now no more FSG in the Fusion. Okay, in that place we'll be using the Hyperion Reporting Studio. Okay, this is the concept. The complete reporting related information will get stored in the Essbase database only. Even if once you create the ledger, once you create your primary ledger, and whenever you create some transactions or journal, that information first it will go and sit in the Oracle database. Then that information related respective members, member is nothing but specific account you can call as one member, particular period you can call as member, okay, currency you can call as member. That will discuss detail level when you are working on this. Automatically the data will go and stored in the Essbase database. First data will be stored in the Oracle database. From there the summarized information and the balances information will get stored in the Essbase, so that it will be supporting for reporting. It's very quick and faster reporting possible through Essbase. Just simply on the fly you can generate the reports. It's not like Oracle database, because it's a transactional, that is a balances based. So that's how the databases, we have two databases for two different purposes.
Yeah,
Yes.
one small question. It's like you're saying this S-based database is means dimension based.
Yeah.
So these dimensions needs to be defined by when we are doing the
No,
implementations.
not required. Not required. Generally, if you go with the product called as, HFM, Hyperion Financial Management. In that case, for your reporting point of view, yes, you can define. You can define your own dimensions, whatever you require based on your financial information. But when you are using this solution through Fusion predefined. Fusion predefined that how that based on your primary ledger, based on your calendar, based on your chart of accounts, based on your currency, based on these parameters, the dimensions will be created automatically. For this S-based related, we no need to do any additional task. Oracle completely they just automated in the system that will sync automatically. You no need to do any additional job. Okay, we no need to just go ahead with this. We no need to touch that. Just we have to understand how it works. Okay, I'll explain you. Yeah, sure.
Lakshman, Ashok here. One more question.
Yeah.
On the SPS, is it a real-time sync or is there a kind of is it a batch?
No, real time sync.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, we'll understand more detail level when you're working on the relevant activities. I mean to say Hyperion reporting related when you're working here. We call as Finance Reporting Studio (FRS) and Smartly. At the time you can understand. Yeah, Vinay.
Lakshman, my question. Are we during the course? Are we working on SAS SBS part?
Sorry.
Hello. I am saying, are we working during the course in the future periods? Are we working on the SBS part as well? For reporting purpose.
Reporting will be using, but SBS we don't need to touch. That is a completely technical. Even when you are working in any project, also you don't need to touch SBS. Just you have to understand the point. That's the reason I'm just talking about it.
And one more thing, during the course, are we working on cloud content or on
cloud only? Cloud.
So that means we will not cover any customization or personalization during the course content.
You can go through the course content. I never mentioned some customizations. Whatever the instance will be using, that is SaaS model. Okay.
Okay.
So that's it. Again, if you want to work on customization, you should know ADF, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So this is a purely functional course. So wherever some basic technical aspects need to be discussed, I'll be discussing. I mentioned even OTBI, which can be handled by functional people. That I mentioned even data conversion. Now in Fusion, it's not no more technical job. It's purely functional. Even I'll take you through the very basic report of BI also. BI Pub, Business Publisher. Just I'll talk about what is the we have some components that we'll talk about, and I'll show you the basic level. If you are expertised on SQL, PL, SQL, and if you know that BI Publisher already, then you can take advantage of that session. Otherwise, you should learn. It's hardly 20 to 30 hours learning is required to become expert on BI generally. Okay, fine. I think there are some questions. Okay, the same. Okay, that's all about this database. Okay, this is what we have to understand when we talk about Fusion applications architecture. Okay, Fusion applications, general different normal applications, whatever you see, and Oracle database to store the Oracle transactional data, and related to the different applications to store the balances information, which will be which is required for quick and faster reporting, which is possible through Hyperion reporting. For that, we have a space database. Other than that, there is no use of a space database, only for reporting purpose. Okay, and other point here is these are the middleware components, which will be standing in as a middleware level, which will be just monitoring and controlling, and which will be involving in the integration activities with respect to objects of these applications. For that reason, we have a middleware which is new in the Fusion applications. So this is what we have to understand about Oracle Fusion architecture. If you have any questions on this, please let me know. We'll discuss now. If no question, we'll proceed to next concept. Any questions?
One more thing.
Yeah.
One thing.
Yeah.
This previously we used to have like AME and user management in the application itself, means in the ABS itself. But now it's been put in middleware. So
yeah.
it means that in Fusion we can use this like BPM or IDM to to in some other application also, means that same IDM can be used to grant means access in other than Fusion. We can give, if we are integrating some other application, we can use it.
Yes, you can use it.
So what?
You can use it, but for that you have to take the separate subscription from Oracle. Okay, because they are providing to use within the Fusion applications as an inbuilt solution. Okay, if you have some intention of using in the different applications, for that definitely Oracle has to grant the access to use in such an environment. But by default, whatever the IDM or APM BPM which will be getting, that will works within the Oracle applications only. That's how they give it. If you want to use for something else, yes, you have to speak to Oracle. You have to get certain licensing or subscription. So on that base it works. Okay, straight away you cannot use. You can use, but with Oracle support only. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Any other questions on these points? Okay, since no question, then we can move to the next topic. Okay, so here just I have taken one slide for the same. See here, so Oracle Fusion applications, product families, financials, and all these applications will be standing in this level. When I talk about Oracle Fusion middleware, there are many components. Those are more into technical components. HTTP server, Oracle HTTP server, Oracle data integrator, ODI, which we call to move the data from one application to another application, Oracle Business Intelligence, okay, Oracle WebGate, and Oracle Web Center, Oracle Identity Manager, what we discussed just now, okay, Oracle Application Development Framework, ADF. This all will be part of middleware components only. Oracle WebLogic servers, okay, so these all will be part of middleware. And finally, these are the Oracle databases, Fusion application, Oracle middleware schemas and all. But functionality point of view, you have to understand database point of view. One is Oracle database, other one is S-based database. When you talk about application, these are the applications, these are the different product families we have within the Fusion applications. When you talk about financial management, we have general ledger, accounts payables, asset management, payments and collections, accounts receivable, cash expense management. Okay, it's nothing but Fusion expense and KPIs and dashboards reporting. Same way as a part of human capital management, what are the modules we have? When you talk about SCM, supply chain management, these are the applications we have as part of that. PPM, project portfolio management, we know, like project accounting, right? Along with the project accounting, costing, billing, we have many other applications. All these project suite related applications they grouped and they named it as PPM, project portfolio management, means costing, billing, project management, resource management, all comes into this. As a procurement solution, we have certain applications, procurement and self-service procurement, sourcing, procurement contract, supplier portal like iSupplier. Okay, so that we have as a CRM, customer relationship management, we have a customer master, sales, marketing, of incentive compensation, and all we have as a part of this. So this is how just they have all those things. And to GRC, governance risk complaints, to write certain policies or conditions. If somebody is performing so and so task, that person should not do certain function access. That kind of predefined rules you can build by using GRC, governance and risk complaints. Okay, generally if there is company where they have a large user base and all who are working on the application, that cases generally we'll see, or else there are very strict rules where the provision should not be given to so and so user if already is working on so and so access, so and so access who has, for them there should not be another privileges, etc. Those you can write as some policies and condition. For that you may use GRC, governance and risk complaints. It's a separate learning that you can use for financials. Okay, and any other applications you can use for these purposes. Okay, financial complaints and issue risk manager and access controls and all this we have as a part of this GRC. Okay, now just we'll talk about FSM, functional setup manager. Okay, we'll talk about functional setup manager. Functional setup manager, call it as FSM. Okay, through FSM what we can do. Okay, so here when you talk about EBS, what we do, if you want to create any project, if you are going to do any project, what we do is, what is the scope of the project. You may maintain by using some third party tool, or you may use some spreadsheet or some other document where you can just make a note. What is the scope means, what are the applications we are going to implement. You have to just make a note somewhere, and you have to make a note of who are the resources are going to work for the project, which resource is responsible for which area of application implementation, and what is the project starting date, and what is the tentative finish date in between, what are the what is the progress of the project which you are doing. All this information you have to manage outside of the application. There is no option in EBS to manage what is your project, which project you are doing, and who is the manager for that, who are the team members, and which team member is responsible for which activity, who is going to do so and so configuration, what is the progress of the configuration, how much percentage of the project is completed. This sort of information you cannot track within the system. You can track outside of the system, but that tracking is not online tracking. It's offline. Somebody has to complete the do the some task, they have to update to the manager may just update that offline spreadsheets or offline dashboard information and all. Directly whatever you do in the system, that cannot sync with those third party, application or some tools which you are using for real time project status tracking. Okay, that's how we have in EBS, but in Fusion that is possible. If you want to do any implementation, first you have to create the implementation project in the system through functional setup manager. When you are creating the implementation project in the system, you have to select the scope. That means through that implementation you are going to implement which applications. Okay, which application you have to understand. Okay, before we get into that, let's try to understand few terms which we come across in functional setup manager. So we have a primary, primary business processes, say financials. Financial is one of the primary business process, or else say product family. And we have a procurement, and we have a PPM, HCM. These you can say these are the primary business processes. It's a different product families we can call. These primary business processes are different product families. As per Fusion, you call as offerings. Financials you call as offering as per Fusion. That too, especially as per functional setup manager, the terminology which we use is offering. Financials is one of the offering, and procurement is another offering, and PPM also offering. All we call as offerings. Done. So if we take financials as offering, within the financials we have a different applications, right? Within the financials we have applications like GL, AP, ER, CM, and FA. So financials we are calling as offering. Within the financials, what are the modules we have? Those modules we call as options. So GL is one option, AP is another option, AR is option, CM is option, FA is option. The same logic is applicable for all these. If we take procurement offering, within the procurement we will be having supplier portal and procurement contracts. These all comes under options. Okay, so these we are calling as offerings. These applications we are calling as options. Within this option you will be having the features, or you can say privileges, nothing but functionality and all. Okay, so we have offering. Within that offering we have options. Within the options we'll be having some functionality, privileges, Okay, that's remains same, but for that you don't need to understand any new terms and all. Just this point you have to understand. Okay, this point you have to understand. When you are working on Fusion applications, sorry, when you are working on Fusion applications, without creating the project, you cannot do any setups. In EBS, what we'll do, we'll go to the we'll log into the instance as a sysadmin user. We'll go to the system administrator responsibility. There you can create based on the scope of the implementation. We'll create the responsibilities. Then we'll build the multi-org environment. You will do the module specific setups. Then you'll start with the process future specific setups you can do, and you can run through the relevant scenarios and all. But in the Fusion applications, first you have to create the project. First you have to create the implementation project. Okay, we have to create the implementation project. Without creating the implementation project, you cannot start doing any setups. Okay, without creating the implementation project, you cannot do any setups. If you want to create the implementation project, you need access to function setup manager. You need access to function setup manager. To access function setup manager, okay, we have to assign the role called as application implementation consultant role to user. Okay, we discussed, we'll create a user. For user, we'll assign application implementation consultant. If you assign application implementation consultant role to the user, that user can have access to function setup manager. That user only can create the implementation project. How to create the implementation project? Before creating implementation project in the fresh environment, in the fresh instance, what happens is, okay, all offerings will be there. Whatever the Oracle is offering, all offerings will be there. Okay, you say you have many offerings, but as per your project, you are going to implement only financials and procurement. Take simple example. So in that case, what are the offerings we have within our instance? Out of that, which offerings you require for your project, what we have to do is, first we have to enable the offerings. Okay, in the fresh environment, all the offerings by default disabled. Take simple example. If you don't, in EBS, if you don't enable the currency, when you are going to create the primary ledger, can you select the currency or not? No. If currency is enabled, then only that currency can be used to create the primary ledger. If currency is not enabled, you cannot select, you cannot find that currency at the time of primary ledger creation. In the same way, when you are going to create the implementation project, you have to select, you are going to do the implementation for which offerings. For that reason, so first we have to enable offerings. This is required in fresh environment, but now wherever you are going to do the practice within that environment already enabled, but I'll show you what is the process to go and enable. Okay, say for example, we are going to implement financials and procurement. I enable financials and procurement. Okay, but again within the financials offering, which options we are going to implement for the client, that also we have to enable. If you take example, say for our client, we are going to implement only these 3 options. So first we have to enable the offerings, which offerings you require for your project you have to enable. Then we have to enable options. Along with the offerings only will be enabling the options. As a detailed point I am giving here, first we have to enable the offerings. Along with that, we have to enable options also. That means you have a choice to choose which modules you want to implement under specific offering. Okay, done. Now we enable offering and we'll enable options. Then later what we do is, we'll create the implementation project. When you are creating the implementation project, while you are creating, you have to include or say select. You have to include or you have to select offerings and options. You enable, those are available to create the project, but when you are creating the project, which offerings and which options you require into your project, that you have to select. Basically based on the scope of the project, you have to select or include the offerings and options into your project. Once that is done, what system will do is, based on the options what you selected, options will be based on offerings. Anyway, let's talk about options. Based on options means based on modules, system will create the task list. Okay, system generates task list. System generates task list. What does it mean by task list? Take simple example in EBS when you are doing the implementation. Okay, what setups you have to do? You have to set up financial options, payable option, distribution sets, payment terms. Okay, these all are different functions which you have to define, the setup related functions. So those setup related functions only in Fusion we call as a tasks. Each function in Fusion we call as a task. So multiple tasks we call as task list. That's it. When I'm going to create implementation project, if I select, I say for example, I'll select offering as a financial and I'll select option as AP. Then system will generate the task list only for AP, which setups we have to perform to get ready with the AP application for transaction purpose. All setup related task system will automatically will generate. That only we call as task list. Simple point is setup. What setups need to be completed, the setup related task system will list out. It will generate based on your project related offerings and options selection. Once it is done, okay, while you are creating the project only, what you can do is you can assign the project to your project manager. Okay, that task basically we do here when we are doing this activity. Okay, we'll assign project to project manager. It's automatically system will do. From which user you are creating the project will get assigned to that user only. Generally, just I'm treating as a project manager will create the project. That's how it will get assigned, and you can change the assignment also. After that, what we have to do is you have to assign complete offering. Say for example, we have a financial consultant. For the financial consultant, I can assign financial offering. Okay, assign offering. If I want to assign complete offering to one consultant, I can assign. Otherwise, if I want to assign specific module, nothing but option. Okay, option, I can assign specific option. I can say AP related configuration should be done by so and so consultant. I can assign option. Or else I don't want AP only, I want to distribute between 2-3 people to do the setups. In that case, multiple tasks we call as task list. I can assign the task list to so and so consultant, or else I may ask so and so consultant to complete the payable options only, or else financial options. That I call as task. This is how we can assign. So anyway, project will assign to project manager. Okay, means we can assign one project to one person only, and within the project, what are the offerings and options we have, those can be assigned to multiple people. And how those can be assigned, the one offering you can assign to one person, or else multiple offerings you can assign to multiple people. That is one point. Other point is one option or multiple options you can assign to one or multiple people, or else within the option multiple tasks you can assign to one or multiple people, or else within the task list specific task you can assign to one or multiple team members who are going to work in the project. Okay, so this is how just we can do when we are doing the assignments.
Lakshman,
Yeah, Vinay.
Lakshman, my question, see, I have created a user called Ram and created an implementation
Can you be a
project
bit
and
loud?
assigned to that.
Vinay, can you be a bit loud? I can't hear you properly.
I'm saying I have created a user Ram and created an implementation project through Ram. Okay. Now some Sham has come and created a do basic setup for the financials or procurement. Can the Sham is able to perform the setups for the procurement and financials?
Yes. No control. You can perform.
Then what is the basic purpose for
You will understand.
building the security?
See, there is no security. There is no security, frankly speaking. It's all about to manage your setups. Just see what we are trying to do is, if you just do the setups, whatever the project you got access, you can complete all the setups. Even say I'm going to assign financial to one user, okay, financial setups to one user, and SCM setups to another user, procurement setups to another user. But other users also can have access. It's all about to tracking purpose. Who is taking the responsibility of doing which module related or which offering related setups, and to track the progress of setup. You don't have a great control in terms of assignment and all, just for information. That's it. Okay, just for information. Think the procurement consultant won't have interest to do the setups related to finance. If he's doing anyway, system will track it. If system is tracking, people will take care of. The manager can talk to them. And first of all, generally they don't have any interest and all. We are not going to give access to unknown people. It's completely for team member. Everybody knows their responsibility. Accordingly, they'll be working. Okay, it's all about just for tracking the status or the progress of the project. That's what we have to understand when you talk about this point. Anyway, we'll see that how to create and what are the possibilities or impossibilities you can understand when you are creating the project. If you have many questions, you can post at the time of implementation project. By the time your many questions will be cleared, since once we create the project, then you can post me many. Okay, so that is the point here. Let me just take you through the other points. So this is how just will be assigning the project to the project team members, maybe complete offering or option or task list task. Once that is done, then people will start doing the configuration. We'll start with the configuration, and based on the configuration, what are the configuration they are completing, they started working, they're not yet started. So progress status, maybe there may be some module or task list not yet started. That could be one, that is one status. You started working, that means the work is in progress, the configuration is in progress. Otherwise you completed certain tasks, whatever the status you have, that you have to update against the project. So that will be rolled up to the entire project level progress. So here you have to update the status. You can update the update the status of your work. So based on that, the status tracking will keep, okay, will keep tracking the status of the project. Okay, this is how it works. Okay. Sorry. So when you talk about function setup manager, primarily these are the activities we'll be performing. Apart from that, we can do many other activities also. Data imports and exports, rapid implementation approach. All these also will be performing when you are working on the application. Okay. So if any questions on this, you can ask me. But you will get more clarity once we start creating the implementation project. Yeah, please.
Lakshman, Ashok here. I have a couple of questions.
Yep.
Yeah, using FSM, if it's a fresh implementation, if I create it on an X instance, can I port it into like an Y instance? If it's a fresh implementation or a kind of like it's an existing application, can I do setups in one application or one instance? Can I port it to a different instance?
Sure, you can move. That is possible.
So you can migrate, you can export the setups and migrate to a different instance.
Yes,
what
yes,
you're saying, right?
yes, you can do that. For that, we have import and export. Specific project related information you can export into the spreadsheets what Oracle is using. That you can import into your target instance. That is possible.
Okay,
I'll show you the process. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. Any other question?
Hey, Lakshman.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yes.
Lakshman, this is Sati. This is my first session.
Okay, Satish.
I just have a question. So, what is the SLA role in Fusion applications?
Same role. What role SLA plays in EBS? Same.
Okay, it's part of subledgers.
Same role.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Lakshman, for the system generates a task list.
Yep.
So is that based on the option only?
Exactly, based on options only. If I select option called as API and AR, to complete API related configuration, what setups we have to do, only the setup related task system will generate. That's all.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Any other questions?
Hey, Lakshman, this is Ashok. If I'm the project manager for this overall program, if I assign this setups to certain people like XYZ people, can I track it as a project manager, like who is doing and where they are standing on the setups?
Yes, you can track for specific setups or task list or particular options or offering. You can assign the resource, then you can understand how much task is completed overall the project, and for which resource how many tasks are pending to complete or which not started. You'll have a great visibility. You can.
Okay, and how does this system knows what are the prerequisites between cross-functional modules?
Can you use
does it keep track of like
some example?
In the old instance, like for example in EBS, right? So you cannot set up the. It's a simple example. Like you cannot set up the AP without having GL defined, right?
Yes.
You need to just to define the legal entity
Yep.
So similarly, like you cannot set up the purchasing without inventory org to be set up.
Oh,
So
you are
those are the
talk-
prereqs. Like
yeah,
how does this?
you are talking about those points. Okay. So in EBS, what we do, say for example, I'll try to create I'll try to do the payable setups. If GL setups are not completed, whenever I go to that setup, I can understand, oh, my primary ledger is not ready, my operating unit is not ready, I cannot perform the setup. In the same way, here also, consultant will understand if without knowledge, if they are going to do the setup, if they try to do the setups for payables minimum, the business unit should be ready and primary ledger also should be ready, legal entity, everything. The primary prerequisite setups are ready. When you try to do the setups in EBS or Fusion, you don't find the supporting data that where you have to connect for the definition. The data you don't find. That's how you have to see and realize. That's it. The data won't be available. That's all.
So there is no content thing. Is that the right understanding?
Yeah. Just when you try to do that activity task, it will allow you. It will allow you to open. But when you try to select the relevant values, you cannot find it. When you are not able to find your primary ledger, that means it's not created. Then you have to stop and you have to start with the primary ledger creation. Okay.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
all.
No, no, no. Okay. Got it.
Yep.
Fine.
Any other question?
Sorry for asking this. One more question is like
No,
I
no, no.
saw that
See,
offerings is like
you can ask multiple questions, Ashok. Anyone can ask multiple questions. Any kind of
financial
questions,
procurement.
any kind of questions you can ask. No issues. Yep.
Okay, no problem. Thanks,
Yep.
Lakshman. I see the offerings is financials, procurement, PPM, and SCM.
Ashok,
So
your
is
voice
Oracle
is
still not?
your voice is breaking. I can't hear properly all the time.
Can you hear me now?
Now maybe okay.
Okay. So the question is like, does Oracle offer you SCM like supply chain management?
Yes, we have a solution from Oracle SCM and procurement.
SCM is there.
Yep.
Okay, got it. Okay. Fine. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
Hi Lakshman, this is Prashant.
Yeah, Prashant.
So this project, this FSM is basically for project management. Means it's kind of Microsoft project where you can have means which task. So it's manually you need to update, or it's means automatically updated once you have completed setup.
No, you have to intentionally you have to update the status. The reason why Oracle did not give in that way, say for example, you are going to create primary ledger. Okay, say you are going to create the primary ledger and you created primary ledger. Because you created primary ledger, if system is going to update the status as primary ledger created, that may not be correct in all the cases. As per your implementation, you might be doing global implementation. In case of global implementation, if you create one primary ledger, that is not enough, right? You may have to create multiple primary ledgers. So if system is going to understand you completed, that goes into wrong. So you have to realize and you have to set the status as yes, whatever you planned that is completed. Maybe one primary ledger you have to create one primary ledger and mark the status as completed. Otherwise, you have to create 10 primary ledgers. Create 10 primary ledger, then mark the status as completed. So manually that should get updated, but project level progress will get updated automatically. For each and every task, you have to update the status. Or for a particular offering, you can set it. So that's how you have to manually update. Intentionally, you have to do it. Otherwise, the project level that the status cannot be rolled up to see the overall project progress.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Yep. It's a manual action. Any other question? But don't understand this project creation is equal to something like the people who have some background or knowledge on PA, project accounting. These projects is definition not similar to that PA projects. The PA projects we use for to track the cost and billing and all, right, to track the cost and to just recognize the revenue and the billing purpose. But this is not at all for that purpose, not to track the cost, not to generate the revenue or billing. It's only for the purpose of to track the status of the project progress tracking purpose. That's all. Other than that, nothing else.
Lakshman, one thing.
Vinay, can you
we
be
are
loud?
creating an
Bit loud,
implementation-
Vinay. Vinay, can you be bit loud?
I'm saying we have created an implementation project. After completion of the setup,
Hmm.
what is the usage for the implementation project? Once the setup is complete
Once
and
the
we are live,
Yeah, we are live.
and we
Okay.
are live, then what is the usage for the implementation project?
Okay. In between, if you want to do some again setups, additional setups, you want to
Hmm.
create one distribution, new distribution set.
Hmm.
Okay, that you have to create from your project. You got some new two more business units in place. Okay,
Hmm.
client started operations in two more locations. You may create those
Hmm.
two in the two business units, and you have to complete the setups. See,
Hmm.
in ongoing one-way business, you will be using that application. Other side, as being a consultant, there will be some certain setups which will support their business process, which need to be created as a new, or you have to do certain changes, right? Something somewhere through options you set something as a default, say three-way matching, two-way matching, or else some account you set as a default, which will be default and down the line of the process. Those business requested you to change it. Then you have to change through project only. The setups can be managed or can be setup related activities can be done through project only. That is the reason even in ongoing process also project is very important. Okay.
Uh, it's Prashant. So you are saying that if we need to create a new bank account or any setup related activities, I have to create a project in the, means if it is support.
If it is support,
Say if it is support, implementation is done,
hmm,
and I have to create new, say, bank account or any activity related to setup, I
hmm.
have to create one project for that.
Not required. Not required. Okay, existing project only, you will just go and you will be creating one more bank account. That's all. The test environment
Okay.
just for testing. It can be production or test or development environment. The project will remain as a project, whatever you created. Just for because test you don't need to create separate one. Like normally in this scenario, the test you may have as a cloned one, or else if you want to have a some separate definition, you can do it. But some reason you don't need to create separate project. Not required general.
Okay.
Yep. Any other question? Okay, no question. Fine. Then just we'll move on to another topic. So clear, right? It's all about the project. Before you go and do the implementation, creating the implementation project, you have to enable the offerings and options. Then only you'll be able to do this. Once you're done with all these activities, okay, once you're done with all these activities in the system, okay, the system what we have to do is you have to will be just geographies. Geographies.
Lakshman, Ashok here. Sorry, one more question.
Please.
Yeah, Lakshman, on the FSM, do you have the diagnostics that was provided earlier by Oracle?
Yes.
So after you complete all the setups, you can run the diagnostics and check what setups are valid and provides you pretty good data.
We have
Does
we have
this
it.
also provide the similar
Yeah,
data?
we have reports. We have reports where you can run the reports. You can get to know the status through reports. Also, they're given reports which will run based on your implementation project which you create. Reports we have. I'll show you that.
So
I'll show you that.
FSM, is it
FSM.
part of FSM?
FSM. Yes, exactly. FSM related. Setup related reports.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So once you done these activities, that means almost your project is ready to start working on it, right? Once you do all these setups, enabled offering, you created, you assigned and all, before you start doing the system configuration, you have to take the decision. Say, when you talk about locations information, basically the locations we have to define, we have to use in the system for the purpose of to identify our entities, where when you create the business unit, means which is equal to operating unit. EBS operating we are calling as business unit. When you create the business unit, you have to give the location where you have to specify if it is US, county, country, state, all the information you have to provide. And if you are going to create the location for suppliers and customer, you have to provide that relevant information, which country and the state, city or district, all the information you have to provide. Apart from these, for taxation purpose especially, the locations are very important. That means when we are working on these relevant objects in the sense, it can be tax related or it can be customer supplier related locations, or else our entity identification related addresses definition purpose, we require some the information which is like the relevant information which is required for address definitions. For that purpose, you can take the decision before you start with the system configuration. You can take the decision whether that information you want to provide, you want to get into the system dynamically. Dynamically means you don't want to maintain some predefined information. So whenever you are going to create the supplier, if supplier belongs to US, in that case you want to select, you want to enter which state and which county and which city and which postal code you want to enter dynamically. You don't want to uh, maintain predefined information. You can go ahead in that way. You have to take decision whether you want to maintain all the predefined information or you want to enter the values dynamically. That you can take the decision. The decision taking and all you can do through with this manage geographies. So what you can do is, general practice would be, you will be generally we don't go with the approach of dynamic entry, because this taxation and many other cases that will become very big issue. You should have some predefined values for state, county, cities and other postal codes. All the information you have to have a proper information. If you give the chance to the user, they can just enter wrong information in the taxation and many other cases, it will become big issue. That's the reason always good practices we have to go with the predefined information. So for any country you do the implementation or any countries related address information you require in the system, Oracle given one task called as manage geographies. With this manage geographies task, you can load respective country information to system from system and source only. It's not like you have to load that country's information, country specific geography, counties, states or cities information to system. You don't need to load from the outside of the system. Within the system, if you remember in EBS, we run the replicate C data program, right? We run the replicate C data program. When you run the replicate C data program, what system will do is, system will be just loading some fundamental data. It will be applying some fundamental data for our new multi-org definition, so that without any issues you can proceed on that for system configuration process. However, Oracle is recommending in EBS to run the LDAP program to fetch certain basic fundamental data for new multi-org, in the similar to that, but concept is similar but data is not similar. For if you are going to do the implementation for US, all the states, counties, cities, postal codes information you require when you are doing certain setups, tax related and other suppliers, customers definition which are belongs to US. In that case, we require the detailed information with a more validated information. If you require that information, you can load, you can activate the loading process in the system, so that system will populate all the information. With that information, when you are going to create the business units or inventory organizations or tax related configuration, the data will be available to select and to define the setups. For that reason, we can load that information. So when we are loading that information, Oracle given the source as a Nokia data. Okay, sorry, Nokia data they given as a source. Where this Nokia data source will be there, that will be there within the instance only. Just you have to run that program, manage geographies. What you have to, for which country you want to load the data. I want to load the data for US. I'll select US. I'll go and I'll say I'll submit the Nokia data, so that system will activate the Nokia data from Nokia source which is related to US by following the geography structure which we follow. When I talk about structure, how that information is need to be organized. When I talk about US, first country, yes, country should be on top. Under country will have a state, under state will have a county, under county will have a city, under city will have a postal code. This hierarchy we are calling a structure. So we have to select what structure we require for specific country as per our application process. We'll be selecting, then we have to submit the Nokia data. Automatically system will fetch and it will keep available all the information when we are doing the system related configuration in the system. This is what we have to complete. Anyway, when we are working on the system, we'll do it so we can understand, but just as information I'm giving now. After completing the project, before you go and do any configuration, you have to take the decision accordingly how to go. Always the best practice is you should not go with the dynamic values for location creation. So for all the countries, almost all the countries, including villages also, including if you take India, including villages also, you have a Nokia data source. If you go and run for India, if you are from India, you can find your city or village within that Fusion environment. That level of data they captured. Okay, so this is what we have to run. Sorry. Only the point is, before you start with the setups, you have to work on this manage geographies. We'll see detail level when you are working. That's it. Any question on this as of now? You can ask me, or else we'll proceed. Anyway, we'll understand very detailed level when we are doing this setup or after completing this setup. Meantime, if you have any question, you can ask me, not an issue. Just we have to load specific country related, address related information, states, countries, counties, etc.
So did you say that we manage the geography before we actually do the configuration?
Exactly. Otherwise, before starting the configuration, if I don't manage the geographies, I may do the setups related to my business unit address. In that case, since I am not going to activate all the geographies for US, when I'm creating the location for my business unit, I don't find the county, state, and the postal code, city information. There I have to enter manual process dynamic values. Whatever I enter, system will accept. Later that will fail, right? So you should take the decision how you have to proceed, but always best practice is you have to set the validation. If you set the validation for the geographies, then system will allow you to select the values from LOV which are populated for specific country from the Nokia source. The user has to select from LOV. There won't be any further option. User can write some test in the field. That we call as validation. We have to enable the validation.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thanks. Any other question on this? Fine. No. And then just we'll jump into next point. So rapid implementation. It's very simple. These two concepts are very simple. When I talk about rapid implementation, sorry. So rapid implementation. The term itself says you can just do the implementation fast track. I don't know how many people are aware of this rapid implementation approach which is offered by Oracle, not as a part of Fusion. In the general practice also, there is a rapid implementation practice from Oracle side. So from Oracle, there is a separate team who will be working for this rapid implementation kind of stuff. What they do is basically they build the solution which is country and industry specific. Basically that is called as accelerators. Now I think they changed the division as OMAP. Okay, what the division will do, that as a part of Oracle, what they do is they'll take some country, they'll take one industry, and they'll target one industry and they'll work for a particular country. Say take example, India, country is India, the industry is pharma. What general business process pharma will follow with respect to these financial applications or purchasing and all complete EBS solution usage? They'll first identify the requirement, based on they'll build the solution. So they'll come up with a complete solution for pharma which will be running in the specific country. They build the solution for that. They'll be providing some accelerated tool. So if you run that tool, automatically all the setups will be completed. Generally, which setups as a mandatory we have to complete for specific industry and which is specific to the country again. So that's how you can simplify the implementation. The complete configuration can be done in the system in hours only, not days and weeks also. They developed one tool. If you run the tool, all setups will be done by the tool only in the targeted fresh environment. Then you may just initially you may run the tool and you may test all those things. So if the functionality is working, you can target other fresh environment which you want to use for production. Will be running automatically. System will do this configuration, and then what are the additional setups need to be done, which setups cannot be handled by the tool, you can do that the post configuration setups. Then the system will be ready to use by the client. But that is not that much success in the market. So because very few clients already opted, they used, and most of the clients are going with a traditional implementation process only. That is the one meaning of rapid implementation. Now when you talk about Fusion, it's not like that, it's not similar to that. The rapid implementation or Fusion application means Oracle is providing spreadsheets, rapid implementation spreadsheet. By using the rapid implementation spreadsheet, instead of going to the instance where you will be just following certain navigation, you'll be clicking on the tab, you'll input some data, again you'll go to the next tab, you'll be entering some data, again you have to click on and open something else to put some additional data. To instead of doing all these multiple actions to provide very few inputs of fields data, so what you can do is, instead of playing with this application, simply you can enter the data in the spreadsheet. Okay, the predefined spreadsheets Oracle is providing the respective format which supports for relevant data. So you can just download that rapid implementation spreadsheets from the Fusion application. I'll show you how to do that also. So after downloading, you have to fill the data. Okay, say for example, you want to create the calendar, chart of accounts, primary ledger, and you want to create 100 business units and all. For all these reasons, you don't need to access to the application directly. You can download the template within the rapid implementation spreadsheet. You can enter all the data, you can load into the system, it will auto generate. So that kind of logic they given, especially for enterprise structure related objects, you can use it. I mean to say, a primary ledger, complete calendar, chart of accounts, primary ledger, business units, for this kind of legal entities. Okay, for all these kind of setups, you can use this rapid implementation approach. For other applications also, payables, receivables also, for very basic setup related spreadsheets they given, you can use them for this purpose. But generally, if you look into that the projects which are happening, you may use this rapid implementation approach only for loading your chart of accounts and primary ledger and business units. Apart from that, what are the other setups you have, you may not use it, since that much dependency won't be there, that much large scale of data you may not find to load it. I'm not talking about master data, transactional data, I'm talking about only setup data. Okay, setup data, generally this rapid implementation approach will be using only for majorly primary ledger and business units related data. I'll take you through this rapid implementation also, not in the very beginning. First we have to understand how to define through manual process. Okay, so rapid implementation sometimes it may work, may not work, so you should not depend on only rapid implementation approach. So generally we do through manual process only most of the cases. If you want to load, you can do it. Since chart of accounts we have a dependency, we'll be doing through chart of accounts. In that case, we'll go with a complete primary ledger solution through rapid implementation, but you should understand how to create. I'll take you through initially like how to do this through activities through manual process. Once you are clear on that, I'll show you how to load that information to instance by using the rapid implementation spreadsheets. It's very simple here. Rapid implementation means certain setup data you can load into the system through spreadsheets instead of entering through manual process. That is the point you have to understand when you see the rapid implementation. Okay, many projects, in many cases you don't see somebody is following the rapid implementation. Few projects you can see, because when you go with the rapid implementation there are some risk factors also, but at least we can go with the primary ledger load process with the rapid implementation. Rest you may not prefer, that we'll discuss, we'll understand. Okay, that's all about rapid implementation. This is what I plan to discuss in this session. And other point is data conversion in Fusion applications. So when you talk about data conversion, please.
Lakshman, Ashok here.
Yep.
Lakshman, on the rapid implementation, like, do we still have the same functionality of industry-specific configuration?
No.
Setup?
That is complete solution. Just I given some background. Rapid implementation means that actually that is.
Okay.
Here it's different. Yeah, that is a complete solution from Oracle.
So that's the accelerator is not part of this rapid implementation.
Now
right?
that accelerators is not part of this rapid implementation approach.
So this is purely for purely like setups, and then you can import it in.
Yeah.
The system for enabling.
Yes.
Okay.
For that,
so do they have any similar product like accelerator in Fusion?
Fusion, no, they don't have that. Some partial solution, the partial functionality relevant they given through spreadsheets only. We don't have as of now from Oracle. That is, as I know, that is there for up to R12 only. For release 12 not there, but that is not that much succeeded in the market.
Yeah. So that was not very successful. Okay, got it. Okay, fine.
Yep. Fine. Okay, data conversion in Fusion applications. Before we getting into this, let's talk about how data conversion can be done in EBS. We all know very well how this can be carried out in EBS. It can be 11i or release 12. So when you talk about data conversion, first we have to create the templates, right? I'm talking about EBS process, then I'll take you through this so that we can understand the detailed difference. We'll create data templates. Of course, before that we have to we have to identify which data need to be loaded. Generally will be as a part of data conversion, we load the master and transactional data, suppliers, customer, open transactions. We'll create the templates. Of course, we may use for different project related, but accordingly as per client requirement, what additional information they want to track and how they want to track, accordingly we just will validate and verify. We'll finalize the data templates, and these templates will share with business. There will explain the fields, references, and all the information. Okay, then we'll collect the data, right? We'll collect the data from business users will fill those templates and they'll be sharing with us. Then these templates we have to share with technical resource. Okay, we'll share with the technical consultants. And what technical consultant will do is simply they'll convert this data templates into FAT files or say CSV file formats. Once they convert the data templates into CSV file or say just flat file format, flat files, then they'll create staging tables. Sorry. They'll create the staging tables. After creating the staging tables, they'll do a lot of coding. They'll do a lot of coding to move the data from files to staging. It's a big task for technical people. It's a lot of programming they have to write. It's time consuming and all they have to write. So they'll do a lot of programming to move the data from the flat files or CSV files to staging table. After loading into staging table, they have to perform many validations. For this validation also they do the coding programming. They write programming and what parameters and what base they have to verify the data before moving into interface. Once validation is done, they'll move the data, they'll populate the data into open interfaces. Once data is available in the open interface, technical or functional, anyone can run the particular program to import the data into base table. Just will import the data into base tables. Okay, this is the practice we follow. So here is all activities. This is not a primary activities. Convert data into CSV file format, create staging tables, moving the data and writing the code and populating. These all activities should be handled by technical people. That means even if you are doing vanilla implementation in EBS, still there is a dependency on technical resource. Without technical consultant, you cannot complete the implementation project. The primary reason is data conversion. There may not be requirement of customization in your project as per client requirement since there is a vanilla implementation, but at least for the purpose of data conversion, you should depend on technical resource. But now no more technical resource we require when we are doing the implementation, when we are doing the data conversion in the Fusion. So what practice we follow in the Fusion? So very simple. In EBS, what we are doing, we are creating the templates. But when you are working on Fusion, you no need to create templates also. Templates also Oracle is providing. Just you have to download the templates. Download template, master data, transaction data, any templates. We have to download the templates. The templates will be sharing with the business users, will collect data templates from business users. We'll download the templates will be giving to the business users. When you are giving us, you can explain that reference of the field and all the information. Then we'll collect the data templates. After collecting, just we can convert data templates into CSV file formats. It's a very simple. Within the template, whatever you download from the Oracle website, within the template you will be having one option called as convert into CSV. Once you click on that, automatically it will convert. It will convert the CSV file formats. It will take into GIF file. Once it is converted, load CSV files into UCM. Okay, we have to load the CSV files into UCM. UCM nothing but Universal Content Management. Okay, we'll be loading. These UCM is equal to staging tables. What technical people do, they'll be loading that the complete data into staging. Similar to that in the Fusion, okay, we'll be loading into UCM. Just we have to submit one job. So whatever we are calling as request and request set in EBS, the request only here in the Fusion we are calling as job. We have to go to, just in EBS we'll go to SRS window, we'll be submitting requests. In the same way in the Fusion, we will go to scheduled request schedule. There will be a separate function called as equal to that schedule processes. You'll go there and we'll be submitting the job. Once you select the file and once you submit, it will be loaded into UCM. After that, sorry, we have to populate data into interface, open interface. How to populate data into open interface. For this also we have separate job. You have to go and submit. That's it. You know programming, nothing. Then you have to import data into base tables. Okay. If data is ready, say you collected all the suppliers information from the your client. So loading the supplier information into base tables, hardly it will take not more than 10 minutes. In the same way, transactional data or any data. So that's how Oracle simplified. Then no technical effort is required when you are working on data conversion in Fusion environment. Any questions, please?
Hey, Lakshman Ashok, how do you handle exceptions?
Okay, exception means if you have any issues, errors, right?
Yeah, data is not valid.
Yeah, that
Balances.
yeah, that what happens is when you are doing it, it will just generate one log file if the program is ended with a warning. You can see that, and you can Oracle given separate function where you can go and see the errors. What reason that record is no validation is failed. You can go and see on the fly within that environment. You can update and you can resubmit, or else you can go and do the required dependency setup maybe in the system. Then you can go and resubmit. That's how you can do it. There is separate function they given, that is the exceptions and all you can see in the errors, import errors. There is a function they given which will open up a spreadsheet. Within that you can find out all the exceptions. You can go and correct then and there, or else if there is some dependency to correct that issue, you can go and do the relevant independent setup in the instance level. Then you can resubmit. That's how you can handle exceptions.
So this can be done at the Excel level, or it has to be at the application level?
That depends. If you have some wrong value entered in the spreadsheet, in that case you have to correct in the spreadsheet, or else whatever you entered in the spreadsheet, that is a valid only. You are trying to load invoice information. In the invoice information you given on payment term, but the payment term is not exist in our system. In that case we have to correct it from system, so that value will be available. You can resubmit, then it will sync, it will accept. But you given some value in the spreadsheet where that value is wrong value. In that case you have to identify that value, you have to correct to the right naming convention. Then spreadsheet level only you can correct it. That's how, depending on situation, you may update, you may have to update within the spreadsheet on the fly. You can update and you can submit, or else you have to go and correct from the application again. You have to resubmit. That's how it works. It depends.
So does it provide you any functionality like how ADA works, right? So you can do a pre-validation on Excel and get all the exceptions so that you can correct it and then load it once. I don't want to kind of load the data without like even if there is a single record that fails. Like, is there
No,
any
no.
kind of an
No, you have to get into the process, then only you can understand. There is no pre-validation.
So there is no pre-validation.
Nothing.
So either I kind of got it. It's got
Yeah,
like,
ultimately, you'll be taking the validated data only in the system. There is no risk. That is the reason Oracle given such a way how it happens.
no, I agree, but I have a lot of issues in data conversion is one of the pain points, right? In the new implementation.
Yeah, yeah. But see, simple point. The templates which you are going to use well validated, and those are defined by following the exactly the data structure, table structure. That is the reason when we are inputting only that generally there won't be any issues. Okay, so templates are very much validated, so there is less chance where user will enter some invalid data. Okay, then in the process also you have an option to validate, and but this is how we have in the system process. This is what we have to follow. Yeah. Any questions on this?
Hey Lakshman, this
Yeah.
is Satish.
Yes, Satish.
So what responsibilities should we use for this functionality?
Sorry.
What responsibilities we have to use for this functionality?
No,
The data conversion function.
there is no responsibility concept in the Fusion. We have a roles. I'll show you when we're working.
Okay.
But to answer you to give quick answer, the role name is application implementation consultant role only. Role is application implementation. That role you have to assign to your user. That role will give the access to this process.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question?
Yeah, Lakshman is Prashant.
Yeah, Prashant.
If what happens if we have some additional validation? Means like based on the DFF values or something, if we want to validate something.
Yeah, for DFF also, how many DFF attributes are applicable for respective table or process related? All attributes related fields also available in the template.
Say just one thing. Say I have some value in the DFF, but I want to validate it some with say some value set or some yeah. That is possible or not? Means like if we have some additional validation above means what is the standard validation on that particular table. So say if I have DFF value and that DFF value is say something means and it should be in my.
I got your point. You have to validate and all. You put some value in that. I mean, you have some value set in the system that you want to validate that value with that.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
No, for that you cannot do anything with this. Just in that case, you have to load straight away. You cannot write some conditions in this process. Sorry, you cannot write that kind of validation. You can put the data in the spreadsheet that you can load, which will validate the existing setups and all. And apart from that, if you are bringing some data through DFFs and all, you have to make sure that before that you enable the relevant DFFs, and it will accept that input data which is coming through spreadsheets.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Hey, Lakshman, Ashok, one more question.
Yeah.
Can you import it without giving them the implementation manager role? Let me tell you the real example here. So one of my customer is planning to import multiple invoices as part of their regular job. They are processing a lot of rebate invoices.
Okay.
So what we plan to do is like give them the data templates so that they can import it on an ongoing basis rather than like somebody importing it using APIs.
Yeah. Okay.
So can you give them access without implementation manager as
we can do that. In that case, you may just create some custom role. You may create just custom role that will enable that access to only that. You can do that.
Oh, you can do that. Okay.
Yeah. It's all about just it's a function access you are giving, where the function access can be provisioned by a role only. You can define new custom role.
So you can assign that function to that role, and then they will inherit that functionality. Got it.
Exactly.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Any other questions? So if no questions, we can wind up the session for today. Okay. Fine.
Lakshman,
Yep.
one more question.
Yeah, please.
May I know the exact timings for this classes? Actually, I missed the first two sessions.
Oh, it's a 9 to 11.
I have to
9 a.m.
9 to
to
11
11 a.m. IST, Indian time.
Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday, correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lakshman, I have a question, but it's regarding the yesterday session.
Please, you can ask me, no problem.
Yeah, yesterday, as we see this multi-org access control means this multi-org structure in Fusion,
Yep.
and there we have
Enterprise
means
structure.
like the
Enterprise.
enterprise structure, correct? Yes. So there were means like two additional things, like one is division and one is distribution center. So this division, as you said that yesterday, that the division can be used for like a regional, say APAC region or some EMEA or something like that,
Correct.
or it can be used for a line of business purpose.
Correct.
My first question is this: means do we have means in reports? Do we have this division? Means in standard report, do we have this division somewhere so that we can get this kind of reports? What I understood is that it's for management reporting purpose.
No, in that case, you have to generate reporting to custom reporting only. That can be possible. If required, you can use it. If you are using, you can go with some custom report definition. You can do, because this will be mapped with the different LEs and different primary ledgers and different countries, right? How you are going to manage this division concept. Accordingly, you can define some custom reports and you can fetch and you can see the data for internal management reporting purpose.
Okay. And my second question is
one more point. When you are recording the transactions, also just you don't come across a division where you'll be selecting. Logically, that is mapped, and which you can capture through reporting.
Okay, and one more thing means, as you're saying, so when we have divisions, like previously we used to have this BG and there is one-to-one mapping or one-to-M mapping, it's kind of thing there. So this division and in primary ledger or legal entity, is there a specific mapping there is one division?
I'll tell you. Under one division, you can have multiple primary ledgers. Okay. Under one primary ledger, you can have multiple legal entities. That means under one division, you can have multiple primary ledgers or multiple legal entities, multiple BUs, and multiple inventory. So you can look at, if you look at that structure, enterprise structure, based on this, you can understand that is directly there under enterprise. Under enterprise, we have division. Under enterprise, whatever you have, those you can have multiple.
No. Is it possible that means I have say one legal entity and which is reporting to multiple divisions? What I'm saying is, say I have 3 line of business.
No.
Business.
No. One legal entity will report to one division only. When you define the division, you can select which LE will be reporting. Okay, multiple legal entities can report to one division. Okay, multiple legal entities can report to one division. Okay, but not one division, one legal entity.
Okay. Yeah.
Because when you look at division, under division, we have a primary ledger and legal entities, right? Multiple legal entities can report to that, but not one only.
Yes. Like in R12, they've given this shares services, or like means one operating unit you can access. One operating unit can be used for multiple legal entity and vice versa also.
Yes. But here the flexibility, just you can one division can be just under one division you can have multiple LEs.
Okay.
So any other question? Fine, seems to no question. I missed today's session, first 1 hour. Yeah, I'll be sharing today's video to everyone. Okay, I'll do that. Fine. Seems to no question. Okay, if no question, I'll just wind up the class now. And I'll be available on this meeting for 5 more minutes. If you have any question within that time, you can ask me, or else you can leave the meeting. And thanks for joining, and have a good day and good night.
Lakshman, this is Satish.
Yes, Satish.
So are we going to discuss about new functionalities in the Fusion? I mean, new additional
See,
new
well,
functionalities that are.
I'll take you through module by module. There will come across those functions. Okay, and if you'll come to know, and after completing the course, if you want me to just outline, I can do that after completing the course, because when you're doing this course, you'll come across those, but generally not required. I don't need to explain once again because you can catch it. But if there is a requirement where I have to just outline once again, I'll be ready for that.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Any other question?
Hi, Lasman, this is Karen. Just about a question about the payment. I tried to.
Yeah, I'll communicate. I'll give you a call, Karnan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll give you a call.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, Lakshman,
Yeah,
this is Satish.
Satish.
Yeah, I need to discuss on the same question. I need to discuss with you on that. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
please call me back.
Sure. We'll have a private call on that. It may not be in the meeting. Yeah, definitely. I'll call you. I'll call you.
Sure, please call
Both
me
of
back.
you. Yes. Okay, fine. Anyway, the next session meeting link will be sharing with only paid participants. That is for sure. So we allowed this initial 3 classes, but fourth session for sure only paid participants. You can see. Okay. And seems to no
Yeah,
question.
Lakshman.
Yep.
Lakshman, one more thing means when can we have access on instance access?
After payment.
Okay, so if the payment is done, you
Immediate,
will provide.
yeah, immediate access.
Okay, I think I have done with that. So whenever means you have time, you can go to means check it and let me know.
Sure. Fine. Any questions?
Do you have like some sample interview questions or the test question to prepare for the Fusion certification?
Okay. Fine. Definitely. I'll just I'll be ready to conduct one session on this if you guys require. Okay. I'll just take you through when you attend Fusion interview and which areas you have to focus, what sort of questions the guys will be asking you, the way how you have to answer, which information you have to include in your answer. For that, if you guys required, I can take one session, especially for these questions and answers.
That would be helpful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll do that. But I think that would be good to have that session end of this training, or at least mid of these classes. At least if something urgent from your side, I'll be ready to take in the middle of the course, or else it would be really good to have that session end of the session. By the time whatever I speak, or it will sync, so that would be more better understanding about it. It's all about you have to understand what sort of question they'll be asking. But when you say questions and answers, that somewhat may not sometimes it related to the what you are learning. You have to fetch certain points, you should be able to deliver as an answer based on the question. Anyway, that I'll give you a good amount of questions, and I'll give you the answers also for the same. I'll take care of.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Any other questions? Okay, seems no question, then I'm just going to wind up the session for today. See you in the next weekend. Have a good day and good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.